Hey guys, MetalJesus here. Now I'll admit that I was late to getting an Xbox One console, but the benefits of waiting is that often you can get a stack of games like this really cheap. So in this video I'm going to share with you my entire Xbox One collection and tell you why I think the Xbox One is a pretty decent console. Let's take a look. Now, before we get started, I do want to mention that I have a little over 70 Xbox One games, and I'm not going to go through them one by one. I don't want to bore you guys, and I really just want to highlight some of the more interesting ones or the ones I think that maybe you'll care about. And the other thing I want to mention is that I've only ever owned the Xbox One X, which is the most powerful version of the Xbox One. So that's the system that I always play these games on. And one of the first games I had to pick up for it is, of course, the Rare Replay Collection. This is an amazing collection, and I think a lot of people were excited about when it was announced. And so this is a best of collection for the developer Rare, which has put out a ton of games on many different systems, from the ZX Spectrum to the original NES, all the way up to the Xbox 360. There's 30 games in here to explore. It's such a great collection of classic video games, and honestly, it's a really good deal. I was able to buy this used for less than $10. Tons of value there, lots to explore, a lot of games to play. A game that's been on my list for a while to pick up on the Xbox One is Ryse Son of Rome. A lot of people recommended this game to me. So as you can see by this footage, it is a third-person hack and slash game, and it was actually a launch title for the Xbox One all the way back in 2013. And I gotta be honest, playing it here in 2020, I still think it looks pretty damn impressive. In addition to the great visuals, it also has a really interesting story too. So you are one of the Roman generals, and you're trying to fight back this attack by barbarians and also help out the emperor. And it just throws you into the action right off the bat, but then it goes into a little bit of a cutscene, and I'm not going to spoil much to you, but essentially the game starts going back in time, and you start learning the backstory of that general, and who is obviously your character, and starts filling in some of the events that led up to those opening moments. But the combat and the gameplay feels really solid, very intuitive. I'm not super far into this game yet, but I am loving it so far. Another game that a lot of people recommended I get when I bought the Xbox One is Sunset Overdrive. Now, this is a game by Insomniac Games. Now, many people at the time when this was released were pretty surprised to see Insomniac Games, a fairly high-profile developer, releasing a game exclusively for the Xbox One. Because you see, up to this point, they were mostly known as putting out a lot of classic games on Sony's hardware. They released Spyro, as well as Ratchet & Clank on, the PlayStation 1 and also the PlayStation 2. So here was this brand new game released on Xbox One's, brand new console, and a lot of people loved it. This game is highly regarded. It's loved by lots of gamers. Another game that I picked up really cheap because it's been out for so long is Recore. So this is an action platformer that is currently exclusive to the Xbox One and PC. And this is another game that had a lot of hype and interest around it when it was originally shown at E3, but ultimately didn't really review that well. It got okay reviews, but it seems like people weren't really blown away by it. Now, honestly, I haven't put enough time into it yet, but I'm curious to know what you guys think down in the comments. Here's Quantum Break, which is a sci-fi action game that, when it was originally released, it was blowing people's minds with its amazing graphics and the acting and the motion capture, and it also just had this really weird and interesting plot. But I don't know, I think something just felt off with this game when I played it. I mean, I thought obviously it looked cool, it was really interesting to explore, but ultimately I just lost interest after a couple hours. So I don't know, again, I would be very curious to know what you guys think. Killer Instinct was another Xbox One exclusive that fighting fans were just stoked to see. And Microsoft did something kind of interesting with this, is that initially it was released as a free-to-play game. So anybody could play it. The barrier to entry on this was absolutely zero, and people certainly loved it. Although, at the time, people complained that it was a little bit shallow on content, especially at launch. And since we're talking about an Xbox console, well, we got to talk shooters, and I have a decent stack of them here, including Gears of War 4 and 5. Now, the funny thing is that while I own these games, I actually haven't had them in my collection. They've been over at my buddy Drunken Master Paul's house, because as soon as he heard that I had them, he had to borrow them. He loves this series, and he actually streamed Gears 5 on his Twitch channel. So now that I have them back, I can start playing them as well. I recently picked up the Halo Master Chief Collection. Now, this has been out for a while now, but it's just been something that I've been waiting for it to drop in price, and I'm glad I did because there's a lot of stuff packed onto this disc. It comes with Halo 1, Halo 2, Halo 3, ODST, Reach, and Halo 4, and most of those games got a graphical upgrade. This is another one that Paul borrowed from me, and I was watching him play on his Twitch stream. It was cool because in Halo 1, you can switch back and forth between the original Xbox version and the newly enhanced version, so that was pretty cool. And here are some more shooters that I picked up on the cheap, and I just kind of went out on a limb and bought random stuff that either looked interesting or, again, maybe was just so cheap that I was able to get it for, a $5 or $10. And the first one was Mother Gunship. So I don't know why I hadn't heard of this game before, but basically what this is, it's a roguelike first-person shooter. And essentially what that means is that it's all randomized, and you basically just try to last as long as possible, earning credits to build up better weapons and just try to survive as long as you can. And this game gets nuts really quick. It actually kind of reminds me a little bit of Serious Sam in how fast it is. It's furious, it's crazy, it's good brainless shooting. I was enjoying this a lot. I also picked up Wolfenstein The Old Blood, and the reason for that is because a lot of people have been recommending this to me. It's a little bit overlooked. I'm not sure why. I think it's sold okay, but most people just don't really talk about it. And I think the reason for that is that it started out as downloadable content, but then it got reworked into its own standalone release. Now, it only lasts about 6 hours or so, but from what I can tell, the action and the shooting in it is just a little bit amped up. It's a little bit more run and gun than some of the main releases have been. I also picked up Shadow Warrior on the Xbox One. Now, this is a reboot of a classic first-person shooter that came out, probably the late 90s. And this is a game, again, I know it's been out for a while, but for whatever reason, I just never picked it up until now. You can get this really cheap, and it's another one of these first-person shooters where it's just all about gunning down as many people as possible. The reason why I really like the Shadow Warrior series is because it's very silly, and in addition to guns, you can also whip out a sword and just start hacking people apart. So, really fun, over-the-top shooter. I'm probably going to check out the sequel at some point, but right now I need to play this one. I also have a stack of what I'm calling, I guess, third-person action games, maybe open-world style action games. And I finally picked up the Watch Dogs series, and that's a series I've been meaning to jump into for a while now, pretty much ever since I saw the first trailer at E3. I think probably the reason why I didn't jump into it sooner is because a lot of people were just kind of meh on the original. But from what I've heard, the second one is the one where they really got everything right. So both of these games are super cheap on Xbox One. They look like they run really well, so I'm really looking forward to checking them out.
Just any alien? Oh, come on. Anyone else having a problem with their phone? Ooh, what? Oh, God. Oh, God.
And of course, there are a bunch of Assassin's Creed games on the Xbox One, but the one I'm really looking forward to jumping back into is Assassin's Creed The Ezio Collection. So this collection has Assassin's Creed 2, which just happens to be my favorite, as well as Assassin's Creed Brotherhood and also Revelations. The reason why Assassin's Creed has kind of a special place in my heart is because when that game first came out, I had just visited Italy like a few years prior to that. And so I came home and I was just missing so many of those beautiful Italian cities like Florence, Venice, and parts of Tuscany. And Assassin's Creed 2 was, just a really cool game to play because it put you back into those locations and they looked astounding. Here are some more third-party releases, including Red Dead Redemption 2, a game I played a ton of on the Xbox One X, looked and ran fantastic on that, as well as a newer release there. That's the 10th anniversary edition of Bayonetta and Vanquish. I played and beat the original Bayonetta, but Vanquish is a game that I haven't put a ton of time into, so looking forward to checking it out. And now let's check out some role-playing games I've picked up on Xbox One, including an RPG called Indivisible. Now, this was a total blind buy. I got it really cheap and it looked kind of interesting, so I thought I would take a chance, and I was right, actually. This is not a bad game at all. So as you can see here, it's a hybrid action RPG that was released, I guess, back in October of last year. But again, for some reason, I never heard of it till now. But it plays very similar to Valkyrie Profile, a game I did play a lot on my PSP. And I have to say that I really like the hand-drawn graphics here, and also the real-time combat is pretty intuitive. So if you're looking for something a little bit different, you like Valkyrie Profile, you should definitely check this out. Next up is a game that I had no idea was released on the Xbox One because I originally played it on the PC. I was actually one of the backers when they crowdfunded this game like a couple years ago. That, of course, as you see it here, is Bards Tale 4. And the Bards Tale series has been around for a long time. I originally played the original Bards Tale, I think on the Commodore 64 back in the 80s. So when they announced that they're going to put out Bards Tale 4, I was blown away. I was like, yes, I mean, that's a great series to resurrect. And I have to say, it doesn't play quite like anything else I've ever played before. It is it's a first-person game, and then you have your characters that you can position on a 4x4 grid, and that's how you do combat as well. So in the game itself, when you're exploring, you're in first person, it's kind of free roam, but then you go into combat, and then it's turn-based and on a grid. It's very unique, and actually, I like it a lot. Another RPG that I have on the Xbox One is Viktor Moran. So this is a hack and slash dungeon crawler that's very similar to Diablo. And I have to say, it's very well made. It's a very polished game, and I'm kind of surprised how few people talk about it. It's really a shame. Now, what's cool about this game is that they eventually released DLC as a tribute to the heavy metal band Motorhead. So in addition to the main game, there's also versions of this that you can buy that will come with a DLC download code in the case that will allow you to download the Motorhead add-on for free. And it's really cool because if you're a fan of Motorhead, well, first of all, Lemmy's in it. He shows up, he's at the bar, he's sitting there drinking. It's really funny. And what's even better is that you get to play the game with Motorhead's music playing, as well as you're just on a different Motorhead style world. So it's a little bit more hellish. Yeah, it's just, again, if you're a fan of heavy metal or if you love Motorhead, you have to check this game out. Some more RPGs I picked up, including Valkyrie A Revolution. So this is a spin-off of the Valkyria Chronicles series. I was kind of surprised to see this released on the Xbox One by Sega, and then I did some research, and it turns out it's also released on the Vita. Again, I'd never heard of this game before, so kind of cool to check it out. I know it's an action RPG, so should be fun. And then we have the complete edition of Pillars of Eternity. So this was originally a Kickstarted campaign by Obsidian, and it made all sorts of news at the time because essentially what they were going to do is go back to their roots and make a classic RPG in that Icewind Dale / Baldur's Gate style, and fans were just super excited. Over the years, I've also picked up what I'm calling kind of horror / survival horror style games, and you can see them here. The Evil Within is a game that I've been meaning to check out for a while now, especially because I know that Reggie has played it and enjoyed it a lot, but for whatever reason I just didn't pick up, so it's cool to have it on the Xbox One. And I've definitely been hearing a lot about A Plague Tale on my friends list. I know a couple people have played it, really enjoyed it. It's a game that I think is kind of flying under the radar a little bit. I could be wrong about that, but I'm glad I finally picked up a copy. Here are some more random Xbox One games I picked up. Some of these are kind of weird and a little bit quirky, including Bridge Constructor Portal. So this is such an interesting game. So basically it's like a puzzle game, but it's also a bridge simulator. Now what's cool about this game is that it takes place in the Portal universe, but has you working for GLaDOS. And the developer said that they got to work with Valve to get all the original artwork from Portal, as well as even get the voice of GLaDOS to reprise her role in this game. Now, I don't typically play a lot of these style of games, but sometimes you're just in the mood for something new and different. And yeah, this definitely fits the bill. And speaking of something that I normally don't play a lot of, you guys know that I don't talk a lot about sports games on my channel, and it's because I don't really play a lot of sports games, but I do love some of the more quirkier ones, and this is Mutant Football League. And this is a spiritual sequel and also the same developer as the 1993 Sega Genesis game. And I think the reason why I like these kind of games over traditional sports games is that, again, there's just a little bit more whimsy to it. The thing is, actually, for sports games, I really just like the extreme sports style games like, you know, SSX and Tony Hawk. And for some reason in my mind, Mutant Football League kind of falls into that category. I definitely appreciate how violent, silly, and just completely over the top these are. Next up is a shooter called Sine Mora X, and we recently had a discussion on my Facebook page about this game. Somebody posted asking the simple question, is this game good? And it was really interesting because I had kind of in my mind thought, yeah, this is a good game, but a lot of people are like, is it really, or does it just have good graphics? And it kind of made me pause a little bit because I do like this game, but I also find it incredibly frustrating as well, sometimes unfairly so. Anyways, I just want to bring it up here because, again, it's just a beautiful, fantastic looking game. Is it good? I don't know. You be the judge. And then another game that was highly recommended to me, people would send me this link all the time, and that, of course, is Shadow Tactics. Now, the reason why people would do that is because they know that I really like stealth games, especially really well-made stealth games. And Shadow Tactics actually is something of a little bit different than I would normally play because, as you can see here, it's more of a top-down tactics view, which is pretty interesting. So as you can see by the game's trailer here, it takes place in the Japanese Edo period, and then you play and control samurais. And then you do what samurais do. You sabotage stuff, you'll assassinate people, and you'll be sneaking around. Thankfully, there are a ton of awesome racing games, and we're going to start with some of these here, going into the Crew 2. Now, I never played the original Crew, but the Crew 2 was a game I picked up and really enjoyed it because it's all of America. It's kind of shrunken down, but basically you can cruise around, all of America in real time. And what's great about it is that it's not limited to just cars. You also have boats and planes, and you can swap between them on the fly. It's a crazy concept, but they executed it so well. And as you can see here, the graphics are just fantastic and tons of variety here. So much to do and explore. The Crew 2 is just great. And here are even more racing games. There's some really weird ones in here, including an Xbox One exclusive called Scream Ride. So this game is kind of weird because, as you can see by this footage, you're on a roller coaster, but it's also, how do I describe this? It's not really a racing game per se, but you do control the acceleration as well as the tilt of your vehicle that's on the tracks there, as well as you can control boost. So when you drive over those blue sections right there, you then have to hit X to time it to build up turbo at the top there. And essentially what you're trying to do is get the maximum amount of screams out of the people in the vehicle as possible without crashing or falling over the side. It's a really weird concept. It's a very cheap game, and it only came out on Xbox One. So if you're interested in this and playing something a little bit different, check it out. And speaking of something a little different, this is another game that was highly recommended to me. And at first I was like, what? But it's Crayola Scoot. And as you can see, it's unlike anything on this list. It actually reminds me more of, say, the Tony Hawk games and how they perform in the controls and also the tricks. But then it has this element which is very similar to Splatoon in that the color of your crayon will give you boost. And so that's actually what's going on here. A surprisingly deep and fun game, controls really well. It's actually way better than you would expect. And speaking of games that are way better than you might suspect, this is a game called On Rush. This is a fantastic game that is actually technically the 6th game in the MotorStorm series. It's just that for whatever reason they couldn't use the MotorStorm title. They used this On Rush name, which I think probably contributes to the fact that nobody really knows about this game unless you were really paying attention when it was released. So yeah, basically this is MotorStorm in its DNA, especially in how the vehicles handle and also how the tracks are designed. But then they mix in a little bit of what feels like road rage from Burnout. And what makes this game different than almost every other racing game that you might have played is that this game doesn't care about getting over the finish line first. It doesn't matter at all. Actually, it's all about building your boost, maintaining that, and then building up your team score. It's a shame that more people don't know about this game. If you love arcade racing games, well, I hate to throw around the term hidden gem loosely, but I think this is definitely one of them. Here is Forza 5, and I'm not going to really talk much about this because obviously these games are very popular. Microsoft owns the studio that puts these out, and they're fantastic, really well-made games. Obviously, if you like Forza, you like realistic driving sims, you're going to love this one. I recently picked up Micro Machines World Series simply because I just found it in a store and it was really cheap. Hadn't played a Micro Machines game in a while, and this is a really fun one. It's classic Micro Machines top-down view. The trick to these games is always learning the track because you can't see very far ahead of you. So the more familiar with the track, the better you'll do. Plus, it's got some arena-style battle modes there that are pretty fun. So yeah, it was cool to get a new version of Micro Machines. And speaking of old games brought anew, here is Carmageddon Max Damage, another game I picked up actually on the same day as Micro Machines. And this one I'm not loving as much. I haven't played a Carmageddon game in a while, and I feel like this one is not great. The Carmageddon games are all about creating havoc and destruction while you're driving. They're completely over-the-top violent. They're non-PC. I mean, you're running down people who are in walkers and wheelchairs, but that's part of the gig. I think for me, really, though, it just doesn't have a lot of excitement for some reason. I didn't love it. I think it's just an okay game. Wreckfest, I've talked about before. It's a Bugbear game, which also made the Flatout series, and it is really fun. It rides the line of simulation and arcade very well. I would say this is actually one of the more enjoyable Flatout style games that they've made. I just think it's fantastic. I think it's silly. It's controls well, it feels well, the physics are awesome. It's definitely a really cool game. If you remember back to a pickups video I did with Reggie a couple months ago, he reminded me and got me in the mood to replay some of the Tomb Raider games, the newer ones that have come out. And so I decided to pick up all three of them on the Xbox One, simply just as an excuse to replay them. I loved them previously, so I thought it might be kind of fun to go for the achievements. All right, guys, well, that's a quick look at my Xbox One game collection, and I would love to know down in the comments if you have an Xbox One. Do you like it? Do you have games for it? And which ones would you recommend for me? Love to know down in the comments. All right, guys, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for subscribing, and take care.